While the Pentagon was distributing images of precision wartime strikes against Iraq 5 years ago, something somewhere was going wrong, and that's showing up in the lives of veterans like Dan Craig.
I guess if you had to number it in days, I think I lose at least 1/3 of my year. Every year, to either I'm wore out, I'm exhausted, or I'm at home sick.
Dan is the 4th generation of the Craig family in the monument business, but he says the fatigue, joint pain, and other medical problems he's had since the Gulf War mean that he's unable to work as hard as he thinks he should. Still, he thinks he's lucky when he compares himself to some of his former military buddies.
That guys are dying. There's no two ways about it.
Craig was a member of Alpha Company, 37th Engineers Battalion, when they infiltrated and destroyed an Iraqi ammunitions bunker. He says it was like tossing a match into a box of fireworks.
I remember being, I suppose, 2 or 3 miles down the road when it initially went up, and the stuff was falling out on us, and I mean, we kind of did the skedaddle. Everybody kind of jumped in their vehicles and hit the road.
Craig thinks that's when he was exposed to dangerous chemicals that rained down on him and his company. It's something he says the government has been slow to admit.
We're poisoned by chemical. But, you know, we can't go home and tell America that our boys got poisoned, so instead we'll cover this up.
Craig says he's glad the truth is starting to come out now about just how poisoned many Gulf War soldiers were. He only wishes the information had been coming out sooner.
The information that's coming out now should have come out immediately. America would have to swallow the fact that that's a fact of war.
But his concern isn't so much for all the problems he's having medically right now. He'd like to know what he might expect in the future.
If it's something that's going to go away, geez, wouldn't that be nice? But if it's going to get worse, I don't want it to be a surprise. I'd like to know.
Craig says he's not complaining about how people at the Veterans Administration, for example, have treated him. His gripe is with the Defense Department, which he says has not been honest with the people of America and the people who risked their lives for their country. Jim Olson, KXMC News 13, Belva.
It has been 12 years since we last caught up with Gulf War veteran Dan Craig. Still living and working in Belva, Dan got some news today that almost 200,000 Gulf War vets have been waiting over 15 years to hear. The United States has admitted that the wartime stress these soldiers were suffering from is actually a multi-symptom illness caused by exposure to toxic chemicals, or Gulf War illness.
A sigh of relief for something I believed all along. Somebody actually proved some facts. So there's no more theories. Something has actually become factual. For me, like I said, it's a sigh of relief knowing, hey, great, I wasn't just making it up. I wasn't just thinking it in my head. You know, it actually was happening to me. I don't think that there will be any answers because they've already, just in the preliminary article, they're saying, yep, we found something, but only time can heal this or not heal it. There really is no correction. So to me, there's nothing new to do. It's just the feeling of knowing I was right.
Right, that the stomach pains and memory loss that kept him from living his life to the fullest was not all in his head. He says when he went into the Gulf War, he was just following orders, doing what he was told. One of those things was taking a bromide pill to protect against foreign diseases, but that most in his platoon were leery because of the lack of research and information. That pill is only one piece of the Gulf War illness puzzle.
There's 100 different possibilities, and there's no test that mixes them the same way that it happened over there. The fact that they're bringing information out and saying, hey, we think we hit something, is great. But the bottom line, there still will be no answer. I mean, what are you going to do? The damage is done.
12 years ago when we met him, he was just shy of 130 pounds. And said he was losing 1/3 of his year every year to exhaustion and illness.
I got to the point where I decided I didn't want to go to doctors anymore.
He has spent 15 years trying to forget everything. Changes have been made to his lifestyle and career to accommodate for the illness. So, does he have any regrets about being in the military?
None whatsoever. I'd do it again. Put a gun in my hand, I'll stand in line.
He still takes some days off work when needed, but for the most part,
I'm driving on and you know, whatever it takes to get to the next day.
In Belva for KX News, I'm Jen Dame.